Welcome to Entrepreneurs International Network, where entrepreneurs learn, network, and grow. I'm Roger Killen, the organizer. Today, Catherine Rocheleau is training us on how to use social values to distinguish our businesses. Catherine, to help us get to know you at a personal level, I have 4 questions. Are you ready? Are you pumped? Are you primed? Are you ready to rock?
I'm ready to go, Roger.
Number 1, what fun fact would you like us to know about you?
Well, I think that this one is probably the most timely, as I am a self-proclaimed Olympaholic. So when the Olympics and the Paralympics on, I eat, sleep, and breathe what the athletes are doing and the lives they're living and the medals that they win. So I am just your biggest cheerleader. And so tonight, Canada versus the US for hockey, and I'm cheering on Team Canada.
Way to go. I did not know that. Okay, question number 2. What is the top quality that attracts you to people?
People who have integrity. I honestly believe that people who can admit when they're wrong, can stand by what they believe, and can understand that other people have different values, different belief systems, but we can do it in a way that we maintain integrity and kindness, then to me, that makes you the best person in my world.
Great, good answer. Number 3, you and I and everyone on this meetup, we only have one life and it's pretty precious. What impact would you like to have with yours?
My whole world is about making an impact, but I want to know that every employee, volunteer, and business owner are able to spend their working lives in an organization where they thrive, they love to work, and that they're paying it forward by helping those issues in the world that are pressing. So for me, people are my passion, and so I want to help people be educated. I want to see that people that with disabilities are included into the workplace. So those are some of the areas that I'm most passionate about, and I want to make sure that and of course, obviously with what I'm doing today, I want to see other businesses. So educating other business owners to become more impactful is part of what I want to leave as a legacy.
Beautiful. That's very noble. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, a few words for participants. If at all possible, would you please turn on your video? Catherine gets energy from her audience, and whenever she sees black rectangles with a name in it, that is not very energizing. So help her, help you by coming on camera, if at all possible. Please stay muted, and if you have questions, type them into the chat. I will pose them about every 10 minutes to Catherine. So rest assured, all your questions will get answered. Now, you're going to be sent a link to the recording of Catherine's talk in a few hours, but I nevertheless encourage you to take notes, because the whole act of taking notes is going to help what you absorb. And some estimates are the absorption rate increases by as much as 33%. Catherine, are you ready to knock our socks off?
I'm ready, Roger.
The show is yours. Take it away.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for coming and joining us on this Saturday morning or afternoon if you're on the Eastern time zone. Well, today I'm really excited to be sharing my passion with you, and it's how can we connect with our values and use those to differentiate our businesses. And really and truly, this is an opportunity for each of us to make a difference in the world through our business. And I'll hopefully share with you some really great tips that you can start. It'll start the process. It's not going to get you very far, obviously, because talks can't do that, but I do know that. But what I'm going to really help you to understand is how you can start to take active steps, be the leader in your sector so that you magnetize your business to employees, customers, investors. Because right now the world, is really wanting to have places where people want to make a difference in the world. They want to be, people want to work for good companies. And in fact, it was on the news last night. Employers are no longer in control. It is actually employees who are in control. And the same happens with investors. They're more in control now than ever before. So we also want to see that you make a significant change in your community that aligns with your values. And each of us comes with these, what I call set of non-negotiables. And they're things that, this is the way that I am. And with your company values and yours as a small business owner may be very, very similar. There will be certain things personally that are higher than maybe something that's in your business. So for me, family is number one. But when I look at my business, I'll put family aside when I'm looking at just my business. But if push came to shove, my family will take precedence over any of my business values. But most of my values are going to be pretty aligned. Also, how can you not lose customers to your competitors? Making a social impact and attracting them for that purpose really does make a difference for you. So I think you're going to see that happen extremely effectively when you kind of share that perspective. And also, you're going to be able to do all of this without sacrificing profitability, business growth, or your passion. And, in fact, I'll be able to show you that having strong social values, having a strong impact that you want to make through your business actually is good for business. So we'll be looking at that. For those of you who are staying with me right through to the very end, I do have a free gift for you. It's my 5 simple strategies to spark impact and ignite change. In this book, I actually take you through a process of actually implementing some really practical, very simple ideas for small business owners that will help you get moving forward. I just thought I should take a few seconds here just to let you know a little bit more about me and why I'm here talking to you today. As many of you have heard, I am actually currently located in Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada, and I've had my business for over 25 years. And for over 12 of those years, I've run it as a social impact business. So I heard about social or corporate social responsibility in the early 2000s, and it was probably like late 1999, early 2000. And I was absolutely sort of sucked in to what that was about and just spent a lot of time learning about it. But it was all about big business and it was all about going green. So that was kind of the thing is, profitable companies needed to go, be more environmental, and everything was going green. Well, you know what? I believe people were the part that was being missed out of the triple bottom line. So, you know what? I that sort of started me thinking like, well, how can we as small business owners start focusing on people and then do that? I'm also in the process of changing my business to a benefit corporation. This is a legal entity. In Canada, the only province with this legal entity at this point is British Columbia, but it is going to probably, drift across the country. And what this does is it in your articles of incorporation, it basically all you're doing is changing, instead of the sole purpose being to maximize shareholder wealth, it's now going to be stakeholder wealth. So it's to maximize the benefit of all stakeholders. So that's kind of the little bit about my business. It's something that I'm very proud of, and I'm very excited to be doing this. I've also worked in the nonprofit world as an executive director, as well as I've led, boards and, associations, that kind of thing, and done things in all different areas. I am an avid volunteer, and I generally clock in about 200 hours per year. My highest was 450, which was a lot. And it's not something I want to repeat. For me, it was just too much, but it was something every opportunity I had to do. But I do that both in community events and community organizations, as well as I mentor and I do pro bono work. I've been recognized for my efforts in both leadership and in volunteers. One of the ones I'm most proud of is I was awarded the Food Executive of the Year for Western Canada. That was something that really sort of has stayed with me all along, because that was part of my background. I've spoken on numerous stages on this topic, and it's approximately 30. And I created an online course, the Impact Business Blueprint, as a way to get small businesses to start to move forward on what I call the path, the impact business spectrum. So that's just a little bit about me. My More Than Green program, the name came from that desire that people not just be focusing on going green, and we needed to focus on people. So I used to say, well, it's more than going green. And so the term came. So More Than Green is the name of my program, and it underpins everything in my business. And so it's based on the triple bottom line, which is people, profit, and planet. So it's what are the good things you do for people? What are the good things you do for your business to make sure it's sustainable and profitable? And what are the things that you do to help the environment? And that's what the triple bottom line is all about. It was started as a way of accounting for these initiatives, but now it's just a part of what a lot of us are incorporating into our businesses automatically. I also embrace continual improvement, and having my More Than Green program being a benefit corporation, that is going to, drive me to continually improve. So the status quo is not okay. You can always be better. And so that's part of what I do. And in order to do that continual improvement, I have to measure, monitor, report, and learn. And what I mean by that is you're going to measure what matters. So all of these impact initiatives, as well as my normal business issues, I'm going to be measuring. I'm going to be monitoring them, what's working, what's not working, what do I need to adjust. I'm going to report on them. So one of the ways that I do that with my impact is that I create an annual impact report. And this is the cover of the current one that is up on my website. But also from that, not everything works the way that you wanted. And what did you learn from what you've done? And what do you need to change? What do you need to improve? And what works so well that you want to just capitalize on it because it's making a bigger impact than you ever expected? So that's sort of the foundation of how you can actually move yourself forward. My More Than Green plan has me donating 2% or more to charity. This is off top line revenue. So if you paid me $1,000 for something, you know that $20 has gone to charity, and that is like a standard. And sometimes it's more than 2%. It depends on the program. It depends on everything, but it's never less than 2%. I also, with that 200 hours, I'm sort of averaging, including the 2%, I'm probably averaging about 10% of top line revenue as being what is being paid forward in my impact initiatives. So I track it, I monitor it. But when we talk about what's most important to you, what is that impact statement that you want to make that you can claim? This is mine. So I'm really sort of focused. I'm on a mission to change the world through business by changing how business is done. It's no longer, in my opinion, okay for businesses to only focus on profitability at the expense of everything else. And I'll tell you, I've got so many stories where this has happened even in today's world. And it makes me shake my head. So this is my sort of impact statement. This is my mission. This is what I do. And I do that by really working with others to help them, make the gradual changes that they need to get them on the journey of incorporating social impact in their business. So that's just a little bit about me, but I thought what I'd do is share a little story about one of my clients that I worked with who had a heart of gold. And this is Joe. Joe is not his real name. He allowed me to to share his story with all the facts except for his name and the field of his business. So those are the only two things that are not factual in this story. And so Joe, it was, you know, he's a great leader. He has a heart of gold, wants to make a huge impact in his community. But, you know, he got himself in hot water. And so when he approached me, he really wanted to see what he could do differently. He had overextended his philanthropic commitments. His business was, you know, had flattened. He wasn't growing. And in fact, he was worried that it was actually going to result in a loss. And he also felt that his team were a group of 5 amazing women, but they were all very introverted, very quiet, very methodical in their thinking, and they needed details in order to catch on. Whereas Joe was, you know, he was, well, in the disc, we call him a high D. He was like rapid, little information, just implement. But he was leaving his team behind. And so what we found was we needed to bring them together and really identify how could he work with this small team and really get everybody on board so that they were all working for the same thing. And, you know, it's interesting, when I interviewed each of the women, they were completely on board with what he wanted to be doing, with, you know, what he did. They were all extremely talented. But they just didn't feel like they were being supported. And so, you know, there was this tension within the workplace that wasn't working for any of them, and certainly not for the business, which is why it was flattening. So what we ended up doing is we ended up sort of refocusing on the mission of the business. What is it that they stand for? What is it that they want to do to make that difference? And their whole thing, their focus was to make the community healthier, better, and be more sort of capable of taking care of themselves. So they focused on health initiatives, homeless initiatives, and also learning initiatives. So that was kind of they sort of put that under health. So it was health, homeless, and learning. All were sort of the focuses of their mission. So we created their mission statement and said, okay, that is what we stand for. Now, what is it we need to do? So we looked at all of the systems in the company, identified where the team identified gaps, identified ways of linking social impact desires with the financial engine of the business. And we looked at how could we make sure that everybody was on board with what we were doing. And so compensation was one of the areas, because one of the reasons why Joe's business was going flat is that many of his team were finding they didn't have enough work with him. So they were going to the competition and working another job. And in some cases, they were working 2 other jobs, which meant they weren't available for him. So even if he had the ability to take on more clients, he didn't have the team in place to be able to take that capacity. So we looked at the compensation package and identified a way of where it didn't actually cost him more. What it did is it was a motivator on both sides of the coin. So his business, as well as the employees, actually were going to benefit out of this change. And what it did is it brought the employees back into his business, because it ended up that if they worked more hours, if they worked with great results, that they were going to make more money, and Joe was going to increase the profitability of the business. So there was a triple win, and that's what I always go for. We also learned that the communication between the whole team and their communication with their clients and with the community had a lot of gaps. And so we were able to really look at how could they be more consistent in their communication, how could they let people know what they stand for, and how could they really figure out a way that they could work together as a unified unit. And again, what we've seen is amazing results from that, and it's really made a difference for them. And then the last one is that they needed more exposure. People needed to know they existed in order to grow. And so, you know, we sort of explored different tactics that they could use. And then we had some specialists come in and work with them very specifically on some very, very specific marketing initiatives. But there was other ways we could gain the exposure that weren't just marketing related. So those sort of top three categories all connected back to the mission and to the systems in place. And what we actually achieved was significant business growth. I think his profitability and the number of clients, like instead of having a 50% caseload, he went up to about 90% caseload, which was actually the max we really wanted him to be at, because you always want a little bit of capacity just in case. So that's kind of what we had set as our goal, and we were able to achieve it. But most importantly, we were able to meet his desire for creating the impact in the health, learning, and homeless areas through his business. And but also that impact, because don't forget, impact is in-house as well as outside. And what you'll see is that is exactly what he did. He was able to expand his impact in a really amazing way. So that's just the story of Joe. And it was one that was really, it took us about, I think we ended up having a little bit of a delay, but I think we did a lot of that over the course of about 9 to 12 months. So it's a journey. There was a lot to be changed. We did a lot of changes in the first 6 months, and then there were some things that were going to take a little longer. And Joe was juggling the growth with the need to implement some things. So that's why it took a little longer. So my question to you is, imagine what your life would be like if you could lead a business that you love, just like Joe does, that's financially sustainable, reflects what you care about in the world, and connects you with the people who share your values and passion for that better world. I can't think of anything better, but that's my bias. And just consider what it would be like to never have to struggle with high turnover, having the wrong employees, attracting investors or customers, and that tug between head and heart. Oftentimes we want to do more in the world. We want to, be better for the environment. But you know what? Sometimes the purse strings just aren't allowing us to do that. So if that's the case, then, hopefully that what I'm going to be sharing today is really going to help you with all of that as we move forward. So today we are going to explore, why you no longer have to choose between profits and social impact, because you don't. We're going to look at why attracting the right employers, the right investors, and the right customers, and those are people who are invested in your mission and your desire to be a change maker, is really good for your business. And lastly, we're going to be looking at why building a business nonprofit partnership can really leverage your social impact as well as that of the nonprofit. It also builds resiliency, and it creates your business and sets it up as a magnet for the people who really respond to what you're offering. And, you want to be able to do that, with greater accuracy, and to get the right people coming to you. And, it's amazing how many people kind of go, oh, I love that you stand for that. And so they start to remember you because you stand out from the crowd. So for a lot of people, they often will ask me, and I get asked this question, like, what is social impact? Well, I see social impact as a new paradigm in today's business world. It really is a shift of what it is that we do. And so, the interesting thing is people always think of social impact and they'll think automatically.
Catherine, are you okay to take a question?
Oh, sure. We can stop and then I'll just continue on here. So this will be perfect.
All right. So Lisa Swift Young wants to know, how do identify your ideal clients? Do companies realize they need to embrace this strategy, or do you initiate? If you initiate, how? So there's 3 questions in one.
Okay. So I find like when I ask people about, so when I'm talking to people, I do market research a lot to find my ideal clients. When I ask them what is important to them. And it's interesting because I'm seeing a lot of clients that are wanting to make a difference in the world through their business, but they don't know how. And so they're saying, well, you know, I just need to make ends meet, but I still want to do this. And so I always say, you know, that's a great one. So through market research and through networking, every time I have a conversation, I ask people, do you do anything like philanthropy, or do you volunteer, or do you, so I'll ask people those kinds of questions. And then obviously, because I do consulting and coaching, I'm also asking them about their business and where the biggest challenges are. So I put the two together to find that. So a lot of networking, asking people very specific questions about their business or about their life. So in my case, I work with businesses, but if you work with somebody, you would ask them about their life. What's important to them? Do they have, who's their favorite company that they like to buy from? Like if somebody turns around and says, Patagonia is my favorite, outdoor wear company, I instantly sort of go, okay, this is somebody who, really is interested in a company that's using their business as a force for good. And so, and here in Vancouver, we have a lot of different businesses that are very much, focused on social impact. And so that's one of the questions. And it's interesting how those simple questions can help you identify people who could potentially be your target market. I can't remember the other question. So can you repeat that for me, Roger?
Okay. How do you identify your ideal clients? You've answered that. Do companies realize they need to embrace this strategy, or do you initiate? And
okay.
The third question is, if you initiate, how?
Okay, so do companies realize it? Well, you know what, if companies are listening to the news, are listening to their employees, are reading what's going on in the world, they should know that this is now becoming, and the pandemic really set us up well for this. This is now becoming a leading indicator. Those large mega corporations, they have come out 2 years ago, it was actually in 2019, came out with a statement that said business needs to do more for the world and more than just make money. So we are seeing this trickle through, and it's accelerated. So do they know? A lot don't, but I always say they're not my ideal client because they're still got their head in the sand. But the ones that are paying attention realize they have to do something, but they probably don't know what to do. And then do I initiate it? Yes, I do very often. And even sometimes within a nonprofit, I'm initiating social impact. So they have a problem, I'll go in, I'll address what problem they want me to work with them on, but I will always integrate social impact in a positive way for them. And oftentimes it's like, how do we help them with their compensation in their business? How do we help them with, having a great workplace? How do we help them, look at a hybrid model now is becoming really, really important. And I took a nonprofit hybrid or virtual way back in 2005. So I've been doing this for decades because I believe that it can work, and people like to work at home, and it gives them a bit more value. So I think it's like learning how to do it more than anything. So I do believe that we do have the ability as change makers to initiate change, but doing it in a way that other people kind of can feel comfortable in making that change, and that they can see that it works for them.
Okay, Lisa says thank you.
You're welcome.
And
I hope I got everything there.
No further questions. Back to you.
Okay. So as I was saying, social impact organizations is sort of a term that we now are hearing a lot of. And oftentimes when I say social impact organization, people think, as I said, of a nonprofit, because they're mission focused. They're there to fulfill that mission. That is their sole thing. And they're not making a profit, but in order for growth, just like any other for-profit business, they need to make an excess of revenue that they now put back into their organization to grow. So, you know, I having run both, I just say, you know what, they're identical. Like, there's really not a whole lot different other than the emphasis on the mission. But with a true social impact organization, your first goal is going to be your mission. Your second goal is going to be profitability. So even with that, we're narrowing the gap, and it's just whether you what you do with those profits, and that's the difference. So a for-profit business could be any of you. Your business could become a social impact business by you just incorporating very specific items into your business. They don't have to be difficult. They just have to be consistent, and they have to be helping, you know, solve some of the world's major problems. But some things that you could have is a benefit corporation, like I mentioned I was doing. You could take a certification program. You don't have to be a corporate structure to become a certified B Corp. This is a certification program that's offered through a nonprofit in the US. It's a global certification, and most of the businesses are small and medium size. And it is a great way of setting yourself up, but it does take some time and some resources. So, you know, it's something that I always say you just need to kind of get yourself going first, and then you'll be able to look at that. There is also a term out there right now, the social purpose business. There is a social purpose institute that's operated by the United Way here in Vancouver, and it's just a different way of positioning a social impact organization. But again, they're very, very similar. So they're just different terms that you might hear, but you don't necessarily have to fit in one of those three categories to still call yourself a social impact business, because I've been doing that for a decade and haven't been any of these items. Also, a social enterprise is another term you might hear, and a social enterprise generally is a for-profit business that is an extension of a nonprofit, and so, but in some areas of the world, a social enterprise is another term for a for-profit business that is making a social impact. So there is a little bit of terminology variations that happen, but it could be a for-profit or a not-for-profit organization of any size, and you just have this strong commitment to making a social, you know, an impact based on values, based on a strong mission, and you know, out of that, you know, I use the image there is trust, and the reason for that is trust really is what we do. So here's the definition. It's deliberate actions that are designed to create a positive change on the lives of people and society. And it's addressing society's most pressing issues, and you have a goal with actions to create change. And so what it is that, you know, like with mine, I have, you know, a goal of donating to specific charities, and I have my deliberate actions is I donate a minimum of 2% of every source of revenue to charity. And the pressing issues, when you look at my charities, that my charities hit those specific areas. So mine are all people focused, and they also relate to me and my family. And so that's how I chose my charities. Now I chose 4. A lot of people will only choose 1. If you can choose 1, then that's probably the simplest and the easiest. I couldn't choose just 1. Like, I'm still struggling with that. I would love to have just 1. But you know what? I just said, you know what? I'm really passionate about all of 4 of mine. And so I I just do that. But I also like it would be if I like for my team, if I bring somebody into my team is all contractors. So they're external team members, but I still have an onboarding process. I still have policies and procedures so that they understand what's important to me, how things relate, and how we work together. So the social impact that I'm looking at are things internally as well as externally, not just philanthropic, even though some of my examples will be more philanthropic, because that's often something that people can do almost immediately. But you are going to pick something that makes a difference. So that's what social impact is all about. Now, social impact addresses what we call the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. Now, these are were created by the United Nations. There are 17 goals. They have very specific information, so you can look them up and have a look. But as you can see, they hit the full Monty kind of thing, because there is everything that you probably are passionate about, you could probably find on this list. These are the 17 areas that are believed to be the world's most pressing problems. And so if you align with some of these SDGs, then you could pick your charities or pick your initiatives that you're going to do, and then link them to one of these particular areas. So, poverty, hunger, health and well-being, education, gender equality, water, sanitation, climate action, all of those kinds of things. I'm just jumping all over. Partnerships to achieve a goal. All of those kinds of areas are things that really can make a difference. And so, mine is, I focus on health. I work on, reducing inequality. Obviously, I have some issues. I've been dealing with some companies where they want to hire people with disabilities. They don't know how to do that. And sometimes they feel like they're treating them differently. And so we're trying to get them to get that equity in place, so that these people can have everything they need to be, great additions to the team, but at the same time, their needs are a little different. And so we're trying to work on that. So there's different ways. And some small businesses, it's just like, I don't even know how to do this, because this is like way outside my comfort zone. So those are just some of the areas that I love to work in. But also my charities do too. So, but I will kind of dabble in all of them. I've sort of got little initiatives in a lot of different areas. So I just wanted to share this with you so that you can see that it is quite robust, and that I'm sure there's something there that you could say, this is what I want my business to stand for, and this is what I want my business to work towards, making the world a better place by making this. And every time I see the one where they're cleaning up the oceans and taking in tons of plastic, I keep going, oh, you know what? I think I want to support that organization, because it breaks my heart every time I see it, especially when animals are caught. So, I look at that and I go, well, okay, well, there'll probably be like one of my add-ons going forward. But one of the things that I often get asked is, well, you've talked about donations, and we make our donations and we do this. And so my question always is to businesses is that linked, is that embedded into everything you do? Or is that something that, oh, we had a really bad year this year, we're going to not do a donation? Or is it something that you're going to go, well, we have a team that works on that, but nobody follows it? Because I see that, especially in larger organizations, sometimes they have their green team or whatever, and half the people aren't even buying in because it's not integrated. So philanthropy and the old corporate social responsibility, or CSR, used to be sort of a standalone. It was done on the side. It wasn't integrated. And so it really was something that, that if they felt like doing it, they did it. And if they didn't, they didn't. And it's often at arm's length. It could be just, firing money at something to say that you're doing it, but it's not really making an impact. It's not being measured, it's not being monitored, and it's really not changing the business or people practices. And so if you can't say that it's making a change, then it's probably philanthropy or just the old-fashioned corporate social responsibility. Whereas if you're focusing on social impact, which is what I'm here to encourage you to do, is you create that clear vision or that clear mission or purpose statement, and then that underpins everything you do in your business. So as you know, that mine is, sort of in a nutshell, is changing the world through business by changing how business is done. And so it underpins everything. So everything I do is looking at how can I make life better for business owners? How can I make life better for employees, for suppliers, all of those people? So that's really what we want to be doing. It needs to get integrated into core operations so of your business. So everything relates back to it. How does this help my social impact? How does this help my business thrive and create social impact at the same time? So that's kind of what you're trying to do. You're also integrating it into all of your core messaging. You're going to be measuring the results. You're going to be sharing the results because people want to know that you walk your talk. And when you can show that what you say you're doing, even if it's not perfect. And I always say to people, don't expect perfection. You are going to set a goal and you're not going to reach it. And that's okay. You made a positive change and it just might need to be tweaked, or it may be a bigger piece of the pie than what you should have tackled to start with. And you know what, that's okay, because you know what, you moved forward. That's a really positive thing. So I encourage you to just be willing to take that first step and take baby steps and then make them into regular size, strides, but really do that. And then most importantly is if you have a team, internal or external, make sure that you collaborate, you get other people's ideas and get them on board, because you know what, they can be your biggest ambassadors. And that includes your suppliers. It can include, like, if you've got shareholders or obviously your employees or your team. It could be your customers. It could be anybody else that you come in contact with. I mean, some of my colleagues, they will tell people what I do. They're my biggest ambassadors because what I do is a little bit more unique. And so I'm very fortunate for that. But this is something that I've stood by for a long time, even when people were naysayers. They just kept thinking, this isn't important in businesses. And I kept saying, oh, yes, it is. And it's going to be even more so going forward. And of course, it is. So think about social impact as very much embedded in what you do, and it really resonates with you and your values and your mission.
Catherine, time for a question?
Absolutely.
Question comes from Pete.
Okay.
Do you know of any social impact organizations focusing on ADHD besides nonprofits? I know of ADHD support groups and nonprofits like KADAK, KADRA, Shadra, ADA, etc. And I ran an adult ADHD for 17 years until pandemic, but never seen any ADHD social impact organizations.
You know what? I can't say that I do know of any. All of the ones that I can think of, but you know what, that would make your business very unique. Because if you're supporting, you're not only helping people with ADHD, but you're going to probably be supporting, the others, partnering with them so that what you're doing and what they're doing is making a bigger impact in the lives of people, and making them, being able to function in society, be valued members of society, and being seen for the brilliant people that they are, is something that I think is you've got a business model there that really can be a difference maker. But No, I mean, I have people in my family with ADHD, so I'm very familiar with it. And you know what? I would love to know that there was a social impact business that could support them. And that would make it a difference maker for me, because it just shows that you're not just in this to make money because there's a target market, but that you're really there to make a difference in the lives of people.
Question from Ron.
Yes.
Catherine, are all your clients only referral clients, or how do you successfully reach out, cold call, in order to add more clients for your consulting business? So Ron wants to know how you get your clients.
Always a challenge. I do get some of my clients through referrals, obviously. Most of the times I actually reach out to my clients. I see businesses that I think are doing a great job. And I think that I might be able to add some value to them. Sometimes I'm being asked to do some training. And when I get in and I start talking to them, I identify gaps and I'm able to offer potential solutions. A lot of people have come to me actually through presentations, through things that I've shared online as well. So it's that whole robust marketing arm that I'm doing, but my goal is that it will be more and more referral based. So I'm really working on my referral network and nurturing those connections so that I have more and more businesses that are making a social impact so that I can refer them and they can refer me, because I want to build that network. And that's where my Ignite Impact Collective is going to help nurture that for everybody in that perspective. Mm-hmm.
So Ron wants you to go a little deeper and explain what does reach out how mean? Is it in person? Do you go to trade shows? What techniques do you use to reach out?
Generally, what I've done is I have reached out to people. So on LinkedIn, say, for example, so I will identify somebody on LinkedIn who has something in their profile or has made a comment that I believe resonates from a social impact perspective. I will, see if they want to have a meeting. Then I'll have that conversation to get to know each other. Then I will, explore, is this going to be somebody who could be a potential client? Is this somebody who might be a referral partner? So that's often number one. If I'm at a networking thing, like obviously the last 2 years haven't been doing that, but previously that's what I did. I would hear the challenges that the businesses were facing by asking them questions. And then the people that I thought might be a good fit, I would invite them for coffee or for lunch or for a phone conversation. And I used to do a lot of phone conversations just to sort of get to know them a little better, find out what it was. And then what I do is I start to integrate how social impact can benefit their business. And still solve the problem that they have. So most of my reach outs have been through things like LinkedIn, through networking, through conferences. Like when I attend conferences, I'm very specific about what conferences I attend. Are they full of people that also have the same clients as I do, or are they potential clients for me? And I'm very, very targeted in what I attend and when I attend them, so that I can start to build those relationships. And I believe that for most of us, building a relationship and understanding that we have trust, that we know what each other does, and that we can work together is the important thing. So most, I'll do some of my, but most of my reach outs, I rarely do cold calls. Like most of mine will be a social media cold reach out, but I won't pick up the phone to just anybody. That's just not my way. I have
Catherine, we got to move on.
Yeah, I have a problem there. So
Candy Wilson wants you to comment on partnering up with churches.
Oh, those would be great. options, because churches, they may have, again, a mission that they want to do. They might be focused on certain areas like homelessness or feeding, or, providing supplies for the needy. So whatever that is, then definitely reach out to them. They are always looking for partners, and especially if they're looking for financial support for their initiative, and or volunteers for their initiatives. So again, just like any nonprofit, a church would be a great one, and it could be in any religion. Temples the same, and whatever. So definitely reach out to them, talk to them, build, let them know what you're doing and why you're doing it, and how can you partner together, would be a perfect one.
No further questions. Back to your content.
Okay, thank you. So social impact is good for business, and I think you're hearing some of that in your questions. But really, as I said earlier, is today's customers, employees, and investors are looking for what they call a social return on investment. They want to know that you stand for more than just making money. They want to know that you are sort of part of the solution, not part of the problem. And so if you can be more responsive, more aware, and more proactive, then you are going to be attracting. And so the triple bottom line, as I said, is people, profit, planet, and it's encased with and underpinned by your purpose. And so when you, or that mission, and so when you do that, you're actually really going to attract the people. And what they found is that these businesses tend to be more resilient in economic ups and downs, and they tend to attract the right employees, the right investors, the right customers, and they often are more profitable over the long haul. And in fact, one of the studies that I read showed that in the early stages of COVID, that the social impact businesses were averaging about 5% more profitability than their non-social impact counterparts. That was just one study, but I thought, well, you know what, that's pretty decent when you consider how, the whole world was facing the same issues. So think about that, is that this really is showing that it's good. So how can you, give people a reason to care about what services you offer and why they should choose you over your competitor? If your competitor isn't really embracing social impact, you're going to be attracting them. And you know what? The customers and employees want to relate to your values, to your mission. And when they do, they tend to be more committed, more innovative, more productive, and more loyal. And having a loyal customer saves you time and money. You don't have to market as hard when you've got loyal customers, because they come back to you and they refer you more readily. And that, again, is a cost and time saving for you as a small business owner. And it is amazing how that can make a difference, because people connect with people that have similar values to themselves in most cases. And we see this again and again. Oh, that's a really good business because this is what they stand for. You need to be going to that company. So when we look at your mission and values, here's just a few questions you can ask yourself when you're thinking about rewriting your mission statement or your purpose statement. What is it that you want to stand for, and how are you going to integrate that into your daily operations? And in the beginning, it's just small things, and then eventually it just becomes more and more integrated because it becomes more and more valuable to you. How are you going to measure your impact? So thinking about that, like if you write a mission statement and you can't figure out a way to measure it, then how is that going to work for you? So that's why I want you to think about some of these questions. How will it connect with how you generate money? Because basically a social impact organization takes their profitability and grows their organization and increases their impact. And so some of that might go to shareholders, but the rest of it is going to go right back into the organization and your impact initiatives. And then, does everybody in your organization and and all your stakeholders, so your suppliers, your customers, your referral partners, do they know what you stand for? Is it common knowledge? Because if it's not, it doesn't mean anything. So when you look at your impact statement, you basically want to know that it's short and concise. It's got a long-term focus. This is not something you just do today and tomorrow you can go back to the way it was. This is a long-term commitment that you're making if you shift. You don't want it too limiting, because the world continues to change and your business will continue to change. So you want to have it broad enough that it will grow with you. But sometimes we have to change it a little bit or tweak it a little bit as we go along, and that's okay. You want it to have it embraced by employees, investors, and other stakeholders. And you want it to be inspiring. You want it to motivate you. You want to motivate all of the people that are connected with your business in any way, so that they take the action. I always say, if I can help, I call it the ripple effect. If what I say and do helps somebody else say and do the same thing and creates that same change, and we all keep doing that, then we're going to move from a small ripple into a tsunami, and then things are going to be forced to change. So I think that's really exciting. And don't ever underestimate the value of every small change that you make. If you make a small change and 100 other people make a small change, that magnifies it much more than just 100 times. Okay, so our ability as small business owners to exact long-term massive change in the world on the world's pressing problems is exponentially greater than all of the mega corporations combined. So just think about that as you make this change.
Question from Davia.
Yeah.
When hiring, how do you make sure that the right people, how do you make sure you hire the right people? Yeah, that's the question. When hiring, how do you make sure you hire the right people?
So I look at, I explore their values, what they liked about the company, do they understand what the company's all about? I also want to explore, what drives them, what motivates them. And if I see that there's an overlap and they really are, it's really true and, integrated into what they do, how they answer all of the questions. When I ask a question, I often have it where, it's connected to my mission. It's connected to the job they're going to do and the outcome that I'm looking for. What I find is that someone who is motivated, who really resonates with what I stand for and what I'm doing, then I find they really, that just is so automatic for them. It just shines through. Other people, they may not even make a mention of the fact that I've got this mission and that this is what I do. They just want the job. And that to me is not the right person. So I can tell, and I can tell somebody who's putting on that motivation for the interview versus somebody who isn't. And so if you don't feel like you're good at that, maybe find a partner who could interview with you, and then you can actually get two perspectives on that. But I find that I can tell when somebody is equally as passionate, and it's really interesting because I'll go, that person, is saying it, but I'm not feeling it. And so that's the best thing. Create your questions and then watch for verbal and nonverbal cues.
Thanks, Catherine. And if you could move towards concluding.
Yes, I will do so. So here's just a few impact statements that you can see that these are companies that have really sort of got them in 1 to 2 sentences. They're very, very focused on what they're doing. Fairware is a certified B Corp. You've got Patagonia. Again, they're a benefit corporation and certified B Corp. Danong is a multinational, and they actually are starting to integrate social impact in a major way in all of their divisions, and they're using the certified B Corp approach, even though they don't have to. But you know, IKEA, their mission actually has changed. Now they're really embracing the circular economy. So that's what we're doing. When it comes to your values really are your difference maker. And so when you know what your strengths are, when you know what you stand for, and you can connect your values to what you do, you really do start to make an impact in the world. So I really do encourage you to look at those, share them on your website, share them with everybody you work with and everybody that buys from you, because I think you're going to definitely do that. So you've heard me talk about linking your social impact with your financial engine. So you can do that in a variety of ways. But, you know, don't forget, social impact is more than just money. If you're paying your employees or your contractors a living wage, then you are creating social impact. You're allowing them to basically be out of the poverty zone. And so we really want to be doing that. That is a really good step. So how can we do it? Maybe it's you're offering benefits to even part-time employees that are 20 hours a week or more, which your competitors are not. Yes, there is a cost to that, but you know what? People are bound to stay with you. So think about that. The one that I least recommend is the percent of profits, and that's because profits can be fudged. You could say I made no profit this year, and that's all because it's all tax deductions, and you actually did make money. So it's the one I least like. And when somebody goes, I do so much of profit, it doesn't tell me that they're as committed. I think that when it's a very specific amount. And I also want to recognize that, you know, for some businesses, you're just in the startup or you're not making a lot of money. A monthly contribution, even $20, can make a difference every month. And on Instagram yesterday, their CanadaHelps.org actually had an ad, and it was $20 will help feed 10 people. Or it will give books to 5 preschoolers. Like that makes an impact. That's measurable and it's very specific. So don't think anything's too small. Look at the types of processes you have. So your supply chain is a great one. Who are you buying from? What are their values? What's their impact that they're claiming? If they're not, maybe they're not the ones for you. You know, are you buying local from social impact businesses or social enterprises? Or are you buying from nonprofits? Those are some great ones where you're sourcing your products. You know, are you like, is your coffee fair trade or ethically sourced? Is the cotton ethically sourced? You know, and, you know, could you buy used instead of new and not have to, you know, add to that? And most importantly, it comes in the disposal. How are you, you know, using the 5 R's? So recycle, reuse, repair, donate, or renew and reduce. Those are the 5 R's. And if you can really focus on that, get as much out of the landfill as you can, then that is obviously the route to go. Create a policy, let everybody know that that's what you want and that's what you're doing. And it really makes a difference. And lastly, partnering with nonprofits. This is where you create a really strong bond between you and a nonprofit where you both have a mission and you are able to exchange things. And so I really encourage you to do so, because your financial contribution to them allows them to spend more time on service delivery, less on doing the fundraising. And that increases the impact that they make and ultimately the impact that you're contributing to, but it also supports 2 missions. Sharing resources, volunteering, pro bono work, you know, those are great ways of being able to, again, do social impact for both organizations. Resource sharing. Do you have a vehicle that you don't use at certain times that the nonprofit would need, that could use, or like meeting rooms or office space? a great option. And purchasing power, going together with the nonprofit so that you guys can buy together in a larger amount could actually be beneficial for both of you. And I think on the business side, having a brand lift, making your brand stand out, be different, be known for making an impact is a really positive one that only can help you continue to grow and thrive. And I think that those are some things that really, these are where partnering really is going to make the difference. In my opinion, I think this is the route to go. And I'm on a mission to make this happen in a big way. I always say to everybody, don't quit. I love Simon Sinek's quote, because I was told for a long time, social impact is not a thing. And I've had really great coaches and mentors and colleagues and friends always tell me that. And yet this is so ingrained in me that I can't separate it. And so this one resonated. Never give up trying to build a world you can see, even if others can't see it. Listen to your drum and your drum only. It's the one that makes the sweetest sound. So I hope that inspires you to make a difference and to become the impact maker so that you create the change that other people will follow suit and start to create that ripple effect that is positive change in the world. By each of us taking small steps forward, we're going to make that massive impact. And we're going to keep people and keep them away from our competitors for a lot longer, because we're on that leading edge. The Impact Business Blueprint, as I mentioned earlier, is the course I created. It really is an extension of what I've now introduced to you. It's an online course that really helps you integrate in step-by-step fashion a lot of the strategies in an easy, not time-consuming way. I've completely updated and revamped this program, and I'm relaunching it starting on Wednesday with some live training. Normally, it's just an online course, but I'm doing the live training so that people can connect with it and we can work it together. I'll learn from you as well. And as I said, this is what I was going to be helping you, and the Impact Business Blueprint is really going to help you to do all of these changes so that you really do create a business that thrives, is a great place to work, and makes a massive social impact in the world through each of your strategies. And just in summary, you basically have 6 comprehensive models. It's generally recorded trainings, but when I do live trainings, and I do them a few times a year, you can hop in and listen to the live trainings and ask the questions. I've got specific lessons and exercises and practical. I tend to be a very practical, no fluff kind of gal. And so that's what I try to bring to the table. I've got a resource vault that will help save you time, money, because you know where you can go to get some information. The online community forum, so we can build the community, we can really connect and support each other. The habit builder is just a tool that I use. It helps us to kind of get the frame of mind that says, here's what I want to do over the next 6 weeks. And it actually will help you shift your thinking into behavior changes that are small. I always say it's the best 2 minutes of your day. And then I also have added in a bonus of a 6-month Activate membership in the Ignite Impact Collective. It's a new collective for social impact organizations, and it's focused on leadership at that. And so that is what I'm currently offering to you today. And this is something, as I said, I've had it for several years. It's been completely updated and revamped, but it has been extremely well accepted, and a lot of people have really helped. And I've got a global thing. I've had students in Europe and throughout North America who have taken it, and it's been really exciting from that perspective. So as I said, this is a special offer because it is going to be live training. It's very unique. Wednesday at 10, it's going to be starting. But if you can't make the live trainings and you want to take advantage, you still can, because you'll have access to the recordings of the live training. So definitely, even if you can't make it. But for this cohort, I'm offering this at $497. And I'm doing that because I really want to get some more feedback, and I think there's still a couple of areas that I can continue to improve. And so I'm giving you that reduced price in order to help me really maximize the benefit that I can bring. And so the website to be able to go, and Roger will be putting that into the chat. So it's impactbusinessblueprint.co. So it's not com. I haven't forgotten the M. It is .co. And right now it is not considered a secure. My security, I just checked it last night and it said not secure. If you get that, then you can go to my website, igniteleaders.com, and it will be there. So I do apologize. I'll get that security thing done on Monday. So that was just my mistake. And as I mentioned, for all of you that are interested in joining me, or interested in have happily stayed, and I want to thank you for staying with me through this, that here is how you can get the ebook that will help you to really move yourself forward. So you'll get the Spark Impact. So it's at bit.ly/Spark Impact, and it's all capitals. And that will help you to get that book as well. And lastly, just I would love to have you. So I hope some of you will join me. This is just, again, letting you know what's included. But, I'm really excited with the revamp, because the revamp really is embracing social impact. It is really embracing all of the changes that we've experienced in the last 2 years, and the new knowledge that I have gained in that time that I've been integrating with the clients that I do. So thank you, everybody. I have been really proud to have this opportunity to share with you today, and I look forward to staying connected with you. So feel free to reach out if you have questions or thoughts. Definitely reach out to me. I love to connect and to explore this and see how it can make a positive impact in your life as well. So that is everything for me. So thank you all.
Catherine, 2 real fast questions. Divya wants to know is if the training is for beginners, for starters?
Absolutely. This is a way that will get you going, and it's good for anybody if you're just starting to get interested in this, or it's good if you want to you've sort of started to kind of dabble in it and you want to up level.
Pete Quilty wants to know, can you recommend any website that lists different social impact organizations?
Well, one of the best one is the bcorporation.net or .org, or is it .net? It's either .org or .net. Like I have to stop and think. Anyway, that one has all of the certified B Corps. So you will see that is probably the best one, because those ones you have been certified. That's a really great one. And then what you can do is, if you have specific ones, look on their websites, but there isn't another one that actually lists them. But that's one of the things that I'm in the process of doing. As I identify businesses, I want to actually start to do that. So I'm going to have one in the coming months, but it's not something I've had time to work on as yet.
And Pete Quilty has advised that the Spark Impact link goes to an Eventbrite event that is ended.
Oh,
so we can't fix that now. We're all out of time.
Yep, I will get that back to you, everybody. So thank you for letting me know.
Great. Catherine, on behalf of EIN's members, I thank you hugely for this subject.
Thank you.
In our times of need, and boy, are we ever in them right now. This has been a great help. It gives us all a tool where we can realize our goal to actually make a positive change in the world, using our little businesses as instruments in order to make that happen. So thank you hugely.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, and I wish everybody a wonderful day.